Our bumper's running. We're counting down to Studio 10. Well, good evening and welcome to pjnet.tv. Happy Thanksgiving season to all of you, and with Thanksgiving comes all the complications thereunto, including a pre-recorded edition. It was recorded earlier today, but we are thankful that both Dave and James, who are our regular guests at this time each month, have agreed. You are not social distancing. How do I call the California authorities out there? Good to see you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Let's start out on a positive note. Got any big plans for tomorrow?
We are going to hopefully be able to get through Thanksgiving with the power on.
Really? Hey, do you need some money? Do I need to send you so you can pay the bills around there?
It is. Yeah, we forgot to pay the bill. Tomorrow, the Santa Ana winds are supposed to start blowing again, and as we've shared in the past, when the Santa Ana winds blow, they now cut off all of our power because supposedly otherwise fires are going to start as a result. So we'll be in the backyard of my brother-in-law's house. Well, hopefully with some power.
A lot of your power is wind generated out there in the state of California. So the Santa Ana wind, I never did like that Santa Ana guy anyway.
He sucks.
Do you know the history that, we fought the Mexican-American War. Not many people know about that. We had offered to buy that territory for $4 million. Now back then that was probably like $1 billion today.
Right.
We wound up fighting and winning thanks to General Robert E. Lee. Yes, Robert E. Lee. He basically was the mastermind of that victory. So upon defeat, they had to accept $1 million for the territory we'd previously offered them $4 million for. 2 years later, they discovered gold in California.
Oh, well, figure.
So the curse of Santa Ana.
Yeah,
is upon you, but making it worse. The news is not really, it's disturbing, but let's just talk about it. Let's be real. Let's be frank. Let's not be too emotional. States are handling this in different ways. California has been known for its leadership, but also for its progressive leftist mentality. I can remember my father saying California at one time was the only state that could secede from the Union and actually make it.
Correct.
How about today?
What do you think, James?
Well, let me just say, let's start with this. My wife owns a dance studio here in town, and we've been shut down again. And so she teaches little kids how to dance, and we've been forced back outside. And with the time change, it gets dark here, 5 o'clock. And so there's not much time to get much dancing done outside. And so, we've been directly impacted by these enforcements, and it's been challenging economically to survive because we're going on 9 months here. And so it's not working. It's not working out for us. So I'll just say that.
James, just as a matter of political correctness and sensitivity to microaggression and things like that, this broadcast is seen not only around the country but around the world. Some of us Baptists, we don't refer to that as dancing. It's interpretive movement. You see, dancing would be a sin of some kind, I'm sure, because it's fun, and anything that's fun surely is a sin.
Well, I guess that's the way to look at it. I think I saw a movie about that once. Yeah, where they outlined the outlaw the whole dancing thing. But I tell you what, the kids, they love it, and it brings them a lot of joy. So we want to get back inside and start enjoying some of the benefits of our freedoms that we should be able to exercise.
Are there any relief efforts for people economically affected at all in California?
There were, but they were very limited. And if you weren't the first 5 people in the door, then you didn't see any. And so we haven't seen any. And so
he was a little slow getting out there.
Yeah. It was like the whole Black Friday thing. But no, I know recently they're offering restaurants like $1,000 to do stuff outside. And it's really, honestly, it's a joke in terms of, keeping things open and alive. So we just need to get back to operating as we should be.
Well, if the government is of California in this case, anytime I see that the government is administrating something, okay, I kind of think, oh my gosh, because I honestly believe if you were to place the government in charge of the desert, there would soon be a shortage of sand. They seem to be absolutely inept.
I would agree.
Now, I will say, let me balance that. The government is good at certain things. Okay, our military is the finest in the world.
Absolutely.
You know, but think about it. Our Constitution empowers the federal government to establish and maintain a military. So it's sort of like real simple. Go read the 10th Amendment, and if it's not in there, we shouldn't be doing it, and it's a disaster. You can even criticize our post office, but if you go somewhere else in the world, you'll think our post office is really something to be proud of.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So James, you and your family personally impacted in terms of your wife's business. Now, Dave, let's turn to you. Now, I know that the two of you are employed by the school system. We'll get to that in a moment. How has this affected your family personally at this point?
Well, my daughter's been laid off. She's voluntarily laid off from Delta so that she can save somebody else's job because she's a flight attendant and they don't fly very much, or like they used to anyway. So the traffic is way down, and so as a result, they're going to do probably another round of layoffs coming up here in the next couple of months. So she may be spending more time with us as a result of that than she has been in the past. But we're forced to follow the protocols as they are dictated by the government.
And you know what? And I'll just say too, real quickly, because I think it's fairly obvious. But when you're told to do something, and then those people who are telling you to do something, they do something else. They go, it's being hypocritical, and so it kind of undermines the authority of those people. And so to tell people to stay inside and wear a mask, and then you're outside and not wearing a mask, then you just go, wait a minute, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
I see stuff at this point. I don't know what to believe. So if you would just kind of confirm, what is the actual dictates or mandates? I mean, I've heard you've got to wear a mask inside. I mean, you hear all kinds of stuff. What is the actual things that are being told that you have to comply with? Because you live there and I trust what you're about to say.
Well, as far as restaurants are concerned, now they've moved everybody back outside again. And you're supposed to keep your mask on at all times unless you're actually taking a bite. That's the rule. Now, whether or not it gets enforced, you don't know. But it's not always the person in authority who ruins your day in that way. It can be the person 2 rows down from you at a restaurant who starts to berate you, or call you names and things like that if you are just walking around by yourself without a mask on, socially distance and what have you. It's kind of like we become, it's cliche, but it's that whole 1984 thing. Mm-hmm. And it's who we are now. I don't know what the new normal is going to be because it changes every day.
I don't quite understand. When governments dictate these things, there is no enforcement apparatus, as you said, really. So that almost sets the stage for vigilante and mob rule.
Mm-hmm.
It's more or less, I don't want to say sponsored by, but certainly under the auspices of sorts. And, okay, so you're in your home. The two of you right now, here you are in a public place, in a venue that's being seen around the world. Are you breaking the law right now?
Yeah, I think so.
Technically.
Yeah, I guess if you want to call it that. And so, yeah, I've never liked this guy anyway, so you can take him.
He is sitting close, though.
Well, both of you know each other well enough to flip on the other. So it's a matter of who would flip first. You could spill the beans.
Well, I'm older. I got to take him out because I don't have as many years left as he does.
Well, but on the other hand, a life sentence for you is no big deal.
That's right. Touche.
School. Both of you are employed by the school system. How's that panning out? I mean, before and after these recent mandates.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've talked about it before, but it's really challenging. I mean, this is not the way for kids to learn, is, to be on a computer and to be using a difficult program. They need to be back in school. And I think, me and Dave talked about this a little bit, but I think, the experts agree that this is, school's the best place for them to be, but we continue to say that that's not okay. And so, I mean, you're seeing your education, the grades are dropping really bad. So it's just not the best place for them.
Yeah, and the thing that I see that really bothers me, not only as a teacher but as a parent, is we've made these kids so afraid of everything now, and they are scared to death. And kids are sponges, and they're sponges either in a good way or in a bad way. They can take in anything, and they've taken in fear now, and they believe that people who don't have a mask on are going to possibly kill them if they get next to them. And that's a dangerous thing for a 12, a 13, a 14-year-old kid to think and believe. We see kids riding around on their bikes by themselves outside with a mask on, because every sign in our city, the city puts up those, kind of billboards, and they say mask saves lives. Wear your mask and save a life. And so, obviously, if you're not wearing a mask, you're a threat to my life, is the message that kids are getting. And me as an adult, I can sit there and look at that and go, yeah, whatever, pound sand. But a kid, a kid sees that and says, oh my gosh, Mr. McDonald's going to kill me because he doesn't have a mask on. And that's wrong. That's a wrong thing to do to kids.
And we're only talking about the immediate and short-term effects. We don't know yet the long-term effects. I'm sort of a technological guru and, a junkie of sorts. So the idea of virtual classrooms and virtual this, that break down the barriers of physical logistics of assembling, for example, worship service. The worship service is pretty much limited to the people that can get there in a reasonable amount of time, where the internet has a far, So in many ways, I welcome some of the virtualization of things, but at the same time, we are very social creatures. Very social creatures. God made us that way. And all that has been accomplished in civilization is in large part foundationally dependent upon our social interaction. Where is this going? What are some of the scenarios that you can think of? Loneliness, depression, anxiety.
Yeah. Kids are loaded with it.
Yeah, you just watch those survival shows, on Discovery Channel, and the guy's been out there for 15 days by himself, and he starts to lose it, and he's talking to himself. Like, what's going on, people? Yeah. I mean, these people got to get outside and interact with their friends, their little kids, and for the most part, they're safe. And me and Dave don't make light of this. We know that the virus itself is, can be a thing if you've got some pre-existing conditions and things like that. If you need to wear a mask, and if you need to do those distancing things, then you do them. That's what's right for you. But don't dictate it to everybody else.
Yeah, because I've got a 99.97 survival rate, and, I can screw my life up any number of ways, more than COVID can, I think. So I'm more of a threat to myself, I'm sure. There's at least a couple tenths there.
Well, in the case of schools, children are almost statistically, they are in more danger driving there than they are being there. Yeah, now, I do understand you have some teachers who may have some pre-existing condition. Well, let's deal with that. Okay, let's virtualize that class.
Yeah.
How's that? Yeah. Okay, let's I don't want to do anything that's unsafe, but folks, life itself is unsafe. Sorry, the Garden of Eden was a long time ago.
Right.
What throughout life, whether it's this pandemic or driving a car or working in construction, everything we do in life involves risk. You cannot eliminate the risk. You can manage it. But this is not managing risk. This is something way bigger than that, and it's scary.
No, absolutely. And this is probably not going to sound, politically correct, but if you're not in good health, get in better health. I mean, there are a million things that you could do today to help yourself along that they've proven help to fight not only, COVID, but the flu or the colds or anything else, but get in better shape. I mean, the number one problem with COVID is people that are obese. Mm-hmm. And okay, well, that's
treatable.
That's a problem. That's treatable. That's treatable. And and like I say, in terms of problems, that's a me problem. Mm-hmm. In other words, I can actively involve myself in helping to solve that problem rather than sitting there saying, okay, you need to make my environment safe for me because I want to remain who I am. Well, mm-hmm. Who you are may be a threat really not to anybody else, but you're a threat to yourself. So solve your own problems first. Don't keep school closed because you're not healthy. Get healthy. I mean, my gosh, we've had 9 months of sequestration, I guess, for lack of better words. Get in shape. Go for a walk. Put that dadgum donut down. I mean, the greatest push-up you can do is pushing yourself away from the table and get away from the refrigerator for 20 minutes and go outside. And, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Well, one of the benefits, we're recording this early, but as soon as we get off the air here, I'm going to actually be swinging an axe and digging and doing some rigorous, and I'm not talking about, removing tree stumps, folks, with a shovel and an axe, that's pretty rigorous. And I actually look forward to it for the very reason you just said. For me, let me take a detour. You've got two bike-looking things behind you there. I just don't see either of you on those. They look kind of miniature.
No, those are my wife and I bought e-bikes.
E-bikes.
Yeah, so I can go 20 miles an hour on that sucker with the push of my thumb. And
e-bike. Is that an electric bike?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. I mean, I can go for a 20-mile ride, and I pedal most of the time. But, if there's any kind of hill or whatever, I just push the thumb down, and I make it right on up like it's nobody's business.
I had a guest the other day, and I didn't want to go there because they were of a different political persuasion, but not this time. I am fascinated by the irony and the lack of lack of just critical thinking. Electric cars, electric bikes, electric this, electric that. I have seen pictures of a charging station for your electric car connected to a diesel generator to generate the electricity to charge your car. And I'm thinking, are we really thinking this through? Okay, you've got wind-generated power out there, yet when the winds blow, you've got to turn off the electricity. I mean, this is not going as planned. The mining of the lithium for the lithium-ion battery is a very nasty project. So that bike, but those two bikes behind you, have generated more pollution before you ever brought them home in their manufacture than they could possibly ever save. Don't you think? Have you even given that any thought? Do you guys think out there at all?
There's a few of us that do, and I just succumbed to my weaker side and went ahead and bought the bike.
What it was is that he knows that pretty soon he can't drive his car anymore because he can't use gas. Right. So he's going to have to get around. So he needs an e-bike. So he was actually thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Well, they'll have to open up more small sole proprietorships around, so that you don't have to drive as far to the big box stores, but they close them. So again, you guys are on this collision course with disaster. We're running out of time. Let's. I hope, please, guys, remain sane out there. And have a good Thanksgiving. But I did not do the recon. Talk about we haven't talked in a month. Talk about some of your recent guests. I actually listened to the comedian guy. He was hilarious.
Steph Allen.
Jeff Allen, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he was hilarious. But you've had some guests since we last got together. Just tell us about some of those and some of your upcoming as we close it out.
Yeah, we had Alan Arnold on this week, and he's got a great book called Chaos, and he's part of Wild at Heart, which is the John Eldridge group. And who did we have on the week before?
Also coming out to Jeremy Stalnecker.
Oh, yeah, Jeremy Stalnecker. And, like I say, the podcast has been awesome. Whenever you get down, you start to feel like, oh, my gosh, I live in California. I might as well just, go walk off a cliff somewhere. These people bring you back in, and the podcast teaches you that, it's all going to be all right. And we talked to Ron Harden again, and Ron is a prophetic speaker, and just to hear his enthusiasm in his voice is awesome.
And the one coming out Monday, Joe Selecki.
Oh yeah,
That's
Joe
gonna be hot,
Selecki.
so-
That's our UFC
Yeah.
fighter. And not only that, but he's agreed to become part of our middle school promotional program. So he's sending videos to us once a week for the kids, all about motivation and how to become a UFC fighter if that's what you dream and desire. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's been a great thing. I know we sound like we're upset, but the reality is we're just
blessed.
fighting through it. Yeah, we're blessed entirely.
Well, it's therapeutic, and as tough as things are, I think that gives us the opportunity to get out of the take for granted attitude that we have in our culture because we have so much, and so everything is a convenience and quick. When that starts to unravel, you begin to be thankful for the things that are constant, that you can count on, that can't be bought with money or prosperity, but relationships with our family. And so we have much to be thankful for. Gosh, I hate to cut it off because we somehow have gone a little long tonight, but I am grateful for your podcast. In closing, somebody discovered the podcast from back in June when I was your guest, and they posted it on Facebook, and it's like, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's getting bang, all these my notifications are just, going crazy. But your podcast, yeah, anyway. All right. Well, I guess when we do this again, we'll be approaching the Christmas season, so we can talk. So hunker down, make the best of it, and we'll do this again about this time next month. But I appreciate you guys making the arrangements to record this for us so we could share this tonight.
Absolutely. And always remember, folks, God is good, and there's always hope. It doesn't matter what your situation is. God is still good, and there's always hope.
There is indeed. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. And there you see the illustrious view of the Eagle's Nest, the broadcast facilities that we use here at pjnet.tv. And don't touch that dial. We've got something really incredibly special coming up for you in a few moments. The arrangements are still very much up in the air, but hopefully if we can pull this off, you are about to enjoy at the bottom of the hour a special guest. As I leave, I'd like to challenge you to ask yourself two important questions. The first one is this: what is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And secondly, when was that? Folks, it's getting tougher out there, as you've just heard. I certainly hope that none of us would be satisfied with our answer to either of those two questions.